All right, let's dive right in. Today, we are taking on a literary giant, maybe the literary giant. It's often called the most difficult book in the English language, James Joyce's Finnegans Wake. It's this incredible puzzle box, a labyrinth made of words, basically a dream written down on paper. But is it impossible to understand? I don't think so. Not if we approach it like a detective cracking a case. So for this explainer, we're not just readers, we're investigators. And we're going to crack the code. Our whole investigation starts right here, with this one sentence. This is our Exhibit A. It's a super cryptic line from page 107 of the book. And yeah, at first glance, it sounds like total nonsense. But it's not. This is actually Joyce leaving us a clue. He's telling us exactly how to read his book. Proteiform graph, polyhedron of scripture. So what in the world does that actually mean? Let's break it down. Okay, here's our game plan. First, we're going to unpack the evidence in a polyhedron of scripture. Then we'll zero in on our main suspect in the eternal Chimera hunter. After that, it's time for some textual forensics in a sinking fund of patience. And we'll wrap it all up with the final revelation in facts versus feminine fiction.
So, part 1, a polyhedron of scripture. We're unpacking the evidence. Before we can even start to make sense of this case, we have to understand the tools, the clues Joyce left for us right there in that one key sentence. So that first strange word is proteiform. It comes from Proteus, this old Greek sea god who could literally change his shape to avoid being caught. So right off the bat, Joyce is telling us that his writing, the graph, it isn't fixed. It's designed to change, to shift its meaning every single time you look at it. It literally refuses to be pinned down. And then you've got polyhedron. Now just think of a crystal or a cut diamond. It's one object, but it has all these different flat faces, right? That's the other half of the code. Joyce is saying his shape-shifting book is also multifaceted. It's a scripture, sure, but a scripture with countless sides. You can turn any word, any phrase, and suddenly a whole new meaning shines through. Okay, so we've established that the book itself is a shape-shifting, multi-sided object. But who's at the heart of this thing? Let's move on to our second section and start identifying the main suspect in this story, a mysterious character we only know as HCE. Well, it turns out our main guy, HCE, is just as proteiform as the book is. I mean, look at this. Is he a simple guy making up alphabets? Or a respected scientist hunting for insects? A criminal? Or a philosopher? He seems to be all of these things at once, and none of them at all. He's just a walking contradiction. Joyce even calls him a chimera hunter. But wait, what's a chimera? So, in the old myths, the chimera was this monster, a mashup of a lion, a goat, and a snake. Just a totally impossible creature, right? And that's bled into our modern language. Today, a chimera is a pipe dream, a foolish idea, something you chase that isn't really there. And that is the perfect, absolutely perfect description for the characters in this book. They're all hybrids, cobbled together from different conflicting pieces. So if HCE is a chimera hunter, what's he hunting? Well, the answer seems to be everything and nothing. And here's where it gets really interesting, because Joyce turns the tables. It's not just his characters, it's us. We, the readers, are the eternal chimera hunters. We're the ones on this endless cyclical quest to find one stable meaning inside a book that's designed to be a foolish fancy. It's like we're hunting this beautiful, magnificent beast that might not even be real. Okay, so the book is a shape-shifting chimera, but how did Joyce actually build this thing? Now it's time to roll up our sleeves and get into some real textual forensics. How does he hide all this meaning in plain sight? Just as we're about to dive into the really dense stuff, Joyce gives us this little piece of advice. Now, patience, he's winking at us, telling us that the difficulty is part of the experience. You have to put in the work, what he calls a sinking fund of patience, to get the payoff. So let's take his advice. Be patient and pull apart one of his most famous word puzzles. Okay, look at this phrase. It's as semper as oxhouse humper. Total nonsense, right? But watch this. Semper is Latin for always, but it sounds just like simple. Okay, hold that thought.
Now the second part, ox, house, humper. What's an ox? In the ancient Phoenician alphabet, it's the symbol for Aleph. What's a house? Beth. And what's famous for hump? A camel, which gives us Gimel. Aleph, Beth, Gimel, A, B, C. All of that twisting and turning just to hide the phrase, it's as simple as A, B, C. That, right there, is the method to the madness. And get this, he doesn't just do this with English. Joyce built his polyhedron out of dozens of languages. For example, take the word lure. In English, lure means to frown or look angry. Simple enough. But in Armenian, lure means news. So a single word holds two totally opposite ideas at the exact same time. The book isn't written in one language. It's a mosaic of many, all layered on top of each other. We've seen the evidence, we've identified the suspect, and we've analyzed the method. So that brings us to our grand finale, the revelation. What is the solution to this whole puzzle? Well, the answer lies in this fascinating conflict Joyce creates between facts and fiction. And here it is. This is the final clue. Joyce warns us that if you only focus on the literal sense of the words and you ignore the enveloping facts, you're making a huge mistake. His analogy is brilliant. It's like reading a letter, but completely ignoring the envelope it came in. So this literal sense, he calls it the nakedness of the text. It's just the words on the page, stripped bare of all their context, all their style. And Joyce says, if that's all you're looking at, you're only getting half the story. It's an incomplete way to read. Because those enveloping facts are what he calls the clothing of the text. This is everything else. The style, the rhythm, the puns, the local color and personal perfume. And it's this clothing, this feminine fiction, as he calls it, that gives the text its real shape and meaning. He even argues that this fiction is often far stranger and more interesting than the plain facts themselves. So you're left with this essential duality, this two-part system. You've got the inner layer, the naked words, the literal facts, and then you have the outer layer, the stylistic envelope, the fiction, the context. The book is screaming at us that you can't have one without the other. They're two sides of the same coin. So here's our solution. Here's the answer to the case. The goal isn't to find one single meaning. It's to experience what Joyce calls the book's multiplicity of personalities. The entire point of this incredible puzzle isn't to solve it, it's to enjoy getting lost in it, to play with all of its infinite, shape-shifting, multifaceted layers. In the end, it all comes down to the number two. The clothing and the nakedness, the fiction and the fact, the style and the substance. Joyce even references that famous line from the Bible, "What therefore God hath joined together, let not man put asunder." You can't separate them. You have to experience them together as one complete whole thing. Which leaves us with one final question. We started this whole explainer as detectives, right? Trying to crack a case. But if the text is really a dream, which is how everyone describes Finnegans Wake, then maybe the goal isn't to solve it from the outside. Maybe the real goal is to step inside and become part of the dream yourself.